Ahi, Chapter 42. The fishing trip. The ship had 28 boats still available. However, the men only used 5 for fishing ventures, and their bows were more resistant and it could carry more loot. And Miriam asked Ahi, which way is shallow water? Ahi jumped out of the ship and he swam ahead, and the men followed his sheet on the water, and a few meters away he was standing in a knee-deep water. He felt something metal beneath his bare feet, and when he picked it up, it was a large fragment of a metallic shield. And he had plenty of decorated rooms and faded pictures, and the man who was with the fisherman said, "Stop, what are you doing?" "What does it look like I'm doing?" said Ahi, taking a bite out of the shield. "Don't eat the artifacts, fool," growled Emmanuel as he rowed in the direction of Ahi. "Fine," said Ahi, dropping what remained of the shield back into the water. He sank beneath the waters and out of sight, and the surface bubbled a little a few minutes, and Ahi then appeared inside the storage room of the ship. Instead of eating the pirate supplies, he went to search for their gold. He opened one of the chests and he started munching on the coins bearing Bersame's profile, and after eating 5 handfuls, he emptied the rest of the contents on the floor and he lay down on top of them, and he closed his eyes to begin his afternoon siesta. And outside, Miriam's crew was digging up quite the hall, and these were crates filled with exotic swords and shields, and most of them were out in mint condition, and based on Chen's observation, a man-powered ship had dropped these 3 crates, and the ship had probably done so to make rolling easier, and man-powered ships were no longer in the vogue in the continent of Bersame, and this hinted to the fact that it was a ship from another continent, or one of the isolated system of islands in the outskirts. How interesting, whispered Miriam. And by now the waves had settled down somewhat, and from time to time there was a faint glimmer of the sun. Not that it mattered much, seeing as though in 2 hours the sun was going to set. And the crates were brought in shore, and the sailors returned for a second look around, and while poking at the water with sticks and shovels, they dug up a painting, frame and all. And it was a medium-sized portrait with a silver frame, and it had mixed in with the other scraps of metal dug up. And while Soren sits back in the ship with his comrade, Emmanuel noticed the painting, and the frame was covered in sand and the edges were rusted, and he opened the back panel to unveil it. And it featured a sepia-colored photograph, and it showed a profile of a woman with short curly black hair, and she wore a metallic-looking headband with stylized flowers. Miriam left the helmet and she asked Emmanuel, "Take that piece of paper to my room, and we will try to deliberately open and record its content before it gets ruined." Emmanuel took the photograph and he put it inside his pocket, and he gave the paper to Miriam, and when she came to her room she found Ahi drawing with her quills and paper, and she took one of her quills and Ahi's drawing, and she flipped the paper behind it to write on its white side, and Ahi groaned with disappointment since she had ruined his inky drawing. Emmanuel lit the candle and he did his best to air dry the document a bit before trying to open it, and very carefully he opened the piece of paper, and inside there was nothing. Why must there always be something? Were you hoping for a treasure or a map? Miriam was quite disappointed, and she was still curious about the photograph, and it was a miniature without any visible brushstroke, and it was highly realistic. And since she didn't have the concept of photo, she imagined that the photograph was a painting. And she said to Emmanuel, "And let me see that picture." "The what?" asked Emmanuel's question. "The miniature, the scene, the whatever," she said, raising her hands in exasperation. Emmanuel handed her the photo, and she looked at it intently, as if trying to decipher its meaning. And she opened her mouth to say something, but she was forced to quiet herself, and an idea struck her, and then she said, "Where is Ahi?" "I was wondering about that myself," commented Emmanuel. "I'll go find him and look inside the ship before searching outward." And Emmanuel went to the deck and he formed a search party of 5. And the crew started in the deck and slowly worked his way to the bow, and they found Ahi in the treasure room, and he was lying under a pile of gold. And one of the men said, "That's our gold," and "Get off our loot," protested another, taking a decisive step. And Ahi sat up on all fours and he looked at each man while growling at them. And Emmanuel was twice at his size, and he put his arm around his waist and carried him off, and all the while Ahi was growling and kicking like a little mouse. And he was also snapping his teeth as a warning, and Emmanuel said, "Settle down, the captain just wants to talk to you." Ahi growled in response. "But you and I know that he's so bark and no bite," said Emmanuel, and he was also not too certain about what he was saying. Ahi opened his faucets and he baited off a piece of Emmanuel's leather vest, and while chewing at it, he said, "I won't need you, but I can beat you, and I do not test my patience." And why so glum? Did she'll give you a little tummy ache? Mocked Emmanuel, patting at his head. No, I just want something I know I can have, pouted at him. So what do you want? It is best not to ruminate on that. Before letting him go, Emmanuel made muse. I think you just need a little help, and a friend of mine had a cousin who died, so then the cousin got brought back to the necromancer, and the guy was up and about like nothing. Said Emmanuel, trying to guess at to what impossible he might possibly want. Miriam said to he holding the photograph, do you know how this was made? With a camera, answered he. And what happens inside the camera? Inquired Miriam. In this world, camera was another word for chamber. Said he, shrugging his shoulder. And where can I find a camera that can make a picture like this? Asked Miriam. He shrugged his shoulders in response, and Miriam asked, and this was a big waste of time. Go away, and I will call upon you if I need you. He went down to the treasure room, and he lay down on his pile of gold, and he closed his eyes. And by now it was nighttime, and he seemed in the middle of formulating an idea, and the sound of the crashing waves and the rhythm motion of the ship made him fall asleep. By midnight he opened his eyes again, and he nodded before saying, maybe I do need some professional help. Location of Bornado Forest, island of Rubio, southern continent. And he spent less than a week with his little pirate friends, and without warning he simply just got up and left. Today he manifested in the Bornavos forest. The name meant warm water or something, in the quotas on it, and he was located in Ruibus. And this was Monkey King's current home, and it was one of the few locations which had kept its original name. And the name of the island made reference to the deer and wild boars that grazed there, and their only natural predators were the monkeys which hunted them for meat. And the island looked up from the height like a human heart, and we meaning that the island was the shape of a real human heart, not the ones that you see in Valentine's Day. And the east part of the island was raised, and the rise was only 20 feet, and there was a man-made trail which led to the upper part of the island. And beneath the section there was a network of underground caves, and a few good numbers got flooded during the high times. And still they were useful, at least in hurricane situations, and aside from a few cottages here and there, the island was pretty rustic. And there were only 4 villages, one by the beach, and 2 below the mound, and 1 on top, and at the highest point of the island there was an old lighthouse, and Monkey King was using it as his mage tower. The lighthouse was a 7-story building, and the windows used to be made of stone with an occasional hollow window opening, and these windows were all replaced with stained glass and a regular glass windows, and with the first 5 floors where there was a solid rectangular building. And the building also had a hexagonal shape, and the hexagon above was smaller, and it had a glass dome, and from the 6th floor to the 7th floor there was a chimney, and on the 6th floor were 4 windows, each facing the 4 cardinal points. And this window had transparent glass design in the shape of stylized flowers, and the open white curtains were visible. And on top of the dome there was a round yellow globe, and the crystal panels were decorated with a constellation. And for reasons beyond our understanding, he knocked on the door, and normally he would have just let himself in. And the door was opened by a bonobo maiden, and she had an elegant upright posture, and the mutagens were working wonders on the creatures here, and in fact they only affected the chimp population of Lusitania. And the maiden had green eyes, small ears for a chimp, and long black hair, and a slight protruding mouth, and she wore a white dress. And she studied as she studied us with a disinterested look, and she yawned, showing her perfect white teeth and her retainers as well. And since he was not saying anything, she closed the door on his face. He knocked again, and she opened the door, and she said, "What do you want?" "I came to see my brother," said Ahi. The chimp maiden looked at Ahi from head to toe, and she scratched her head and provided her lips, and then she said, Fine, welcome inside." And the interior of the tower was lined with torches, and they emitted a gentle blue flame, and they felt cold to the touch, and they acted like magical air conditioners, and as well as lights, and the floor was made of wood, and the windows had red curtains. As he climbed the stairs, he noticed the oval portraits decorating the walls, and the spiral staircase had iron railings. And it used to be water, however, Monkey King changed it to make the rooms in the lower rooms larger. And the lower floor was the storage room and the kitchen, and the 2 floors above were the classroom, and the second to last floor had 5 bunk beds with a chest and other personal items belonging to his apprentices. The chimp guy that he was Monkey King's self-appointed understudy slash wife, and her name was Gargantua, and she was 3 years younger than Monkey King, and Monkey King had also renamed her because she used to eat a lot for such a skinny little thing. And not look like Monkey King. Garganta commented, and he from head to toe, not smell like a king either. I simply shrugged in response, and by now we were finally at Monkey King's study, and Garganta pushed the door open, and the door did not have a handle or a keyhole, and it was pointless for Monkey King to lock his door since his peers could just get in through the window. And the floor had a lovely red Persian rug, and it had orbit, intricate patterns sewn into them. And at the center it had a circular motif showing the constellations of the sky. Beneath its bookcase there was a single window, and the window had red curtains with golden snowflakes. And between the doors there was a wooden writing cabinet and 4 little drawers. And at the center of the room there were 2 couches facing each other around a dining table. Monkey King was lying down on one of the couches, and he was wearing an ornamental black rose, and on his wrist he wore a series of simple golden bangles, and he had a ruby ring on his left hand finger and an opal ring on his left thumb, and on his right middle finger the ring he had a red beryl, and on his pinky he had a light blue grande arite. And upon closer inspection we noticed that he was sleeping, and Johnny he opened his eyes and he sat up, and as he sat down before his brother, and Gargantua said, "I'll go and fetch tea, sugar, cream." And she looked at he porcelain, gold, chili peppers. Haha, very sunny, snapped Monkey King. "No, shoo." Gargantua was gracious enough to leave our presence, and with her out of the way we could finally get down to business. And when she was gone, Monkey King asked his brother, "So what is it? How does necromancy work exactly?" inquired he. Still mowing that old bone, little brother, and just get over it already," said Monkey King. "So what will you do?" He shrugged in response. There isn't much to. It doesn't help much to ruminate on. There's not much fun in ruminating on someone that died by pure happenstance. It wouldn't kill you guys to do a little math, mused Monkey King, looking at us, since we have made him lose his train of thought. He eventually decided to take off his brother's invitation to stay in there. And for a couple of days he kept busy to himself, and his mood seems to have recovered after the time he spent dealing with the rude pirates. And one could almost say that he was back to his abnormal self, and from time to time he took to wandering at night or playing hide and seek, and he also did not kill his food his own, since he was more of a vulture as far as his eating habit. You know that vultures, they don't like kill things, they just eat things that are already dead, like carrion meat and stuff. He supplemented his diet with the Monkey King spell components and sometimes his power crystals, and in the end an exasperated Monkey King had to call charity to receive regular shipments of his precious earth and mineral to keep a heat from eating his thing. And to then began the same day as any other, and he had taken residence in his brother's bedroom, and the bedroom was a floor below the study, and for Mages a bedroom was simply a place where they dropped dead for a few hours before getting right back to work. And Monkey King was possessed of the same nervous energies as his father, and as such, he only used his bedrooms on special occasions, like when he got really sick. And like clockwork, Monkey King's health would start waning during the winter, and fire was just down the middle, and Monkey King's strength was starting to sap, and to an outsider he seemed like a lively sort of little chap. However, he was spending more and more time sitting down, and Monkey King's bedroom was lightly furnished, and the centerfold was a king-size oak bed. And it was designed to be comfortable, and the bed had 4 pillows, each with a carved figure of an angel, and below the bed there was a carpet with a half-oval mirror on top of it. And Monkey King had added another closet for his brother's things, and towards the right side of the bed there were 3 windows as well, and beside the door there was a single painting. The painting showed a little blonde girl dressed in white, and she was holding a lighted candle, and behind her was her brother in white pajamas. And towards the center right there was a cat looking at them with disdain, but then again cats usually look at people with disdain. He stepped out of the bed and he passed his feet gently over the delicate surface of the bunny belt, and he wiggled his toes a bit, enjoying the softness. And he lay down on all fours on the ground, and he opened his paws as about to take a bite when he noticed a faint golden scribble on the carpet. And getting up, he opened the closet and got out and changed. And he carried that thing under his arm, and the bathroom was in a floor below, and there were 4 bathroom floors alternating with the bedrooms. And getting plumbing up the tower had always been a daring feat, and the second hardest thing was getting the fresh water and having the waste come out the tower. And through some clever engineering combined with conditioning and enchantment, the tower had something that could be called working plumbing. And the bathroom was simple enough, with a toilet, a pump of warm or hot or cold water, and then he was moderated by pressing one of the 3 holes in the pump. And aside from this, there was the toilet, a mirror, a porcelain vanity, and a rack of towels. He took his usual 1-hour bath, and he dried himself and brushed his teeth and hair. And when he saw himself looking presentable, he made his brother a steer for breakfast. And every day Garganta brought the meal for the twins. And Monkey King ate in his study while he had his meal in the open balcony, and looking up from his illustrated spellbook, Monkey King said, "Kirk Hall." "Good for him," said he. So now he wasn't in a talkative mood. Monkey King dropped the subject altogether, and the sea was extremely calm, which was unusual. And there was also not a cloud in the sky, and the opposite of the world was made of sand, and the silent moment lasted 15 minutes, and slowly the world around him came alive with sun again. And after getting bored looking at those, he took a drawing book from Monkey King's shelf, and inside there was a charcoal pencil, and he then went to illustrate what he saw outside. And like all dragons, he had sublime eyesight, and the world looked pretty interesting to his eye, until he was painting the corals that were a kilometer from the coast. And after sketching for a bit, he put his book back on the shelf, and looking closer to the edge of the balcony, we noticed 5 young ape children, and they were climbing desperately up the tower. And the one to arrive first said, "He come play with us." He jumped the balcony, and he glided gently down towards the floor, and the little monkey children cheering hooted as they saw it. And the first kid said, "Let's play hide and seek. You hide and we will look for you." "All right," said he, saluting them. And the monkeys covered their eyes and started counting, and when they reached 10, he tagged one of them and said, "God, you now you're right. We're not playing tag," snapped the child. And the kings turned around and counted again, and while they were not looking, he was tiptoeing closer, and one of them turned around after counting 10 and said, "You're supposed to hide," And he turned around again to continue counting to 100, and he kept creeping closer, and eventually the kids realized that he was not in the mood to play hide and seek, or he was pretending not to understand them. This did not deter them from trying to play the games with him. And the kids started walking towards the beach, and he followed after them. And once they were at the ocean, they started throwing seashells at the ocean, and they were trying to make the rocks skip. And it was an effort in futility, since the ocean was extremely choppy that day, and he was always mimicking the last stone thrower. And I thought the kids imagined that they were just as good as he in the throwing game. And he looked up at the sky and he frowned, and one of the kids asked, "And what's the matter? Is a storm coming?" And there wasn't a single cloud in the sky, and one of the kids asked, "Is it going to rain?" Said he, shaking his head. And the conversation was interrupted when Garganta called them at the beach. "And now Liz," said the monkey king, who apparently was her niece. "And the king wants to see you," said Garganta. "Come," he. And the pair started making their way towards the tower, and when she was out of sight of the others, she removed her shoes and started walking barefoot, and her posture hunched a little, and yawning to show all her canines. "The king needs powder, Winter," said Garganta, shaking her face in the kite, and then she clasped her shoulder and pretended to shiver. "You mean he needs my power?" said he, pointing outward. "Yes, no, maybe yes," said Garganta, shaking her head in disappointment. She kept silent for the rest of the trip back to the lighthouse, and normally he would amuse himself by rambling, singing, or playing mimicry, and instead he took to looking at the sky, and we were afraid that he would might up and disappear on us again. And then we would have to track him down for a couple of days. And he climbed up the stair, and Garganta went into the kitchen to prepare lunch, and went inside Monkey King's bedroom and pulled out a change of clothing, and he stopped midair below his breast, memento mori. And then he removed the outfit he was putting on, and instead he chose to wear his tattered red robes, and they were the same robes he had worn in the ocean. And he climbed the stairs quickly and disappeared by the doorway, and we saw him reappear beside his brother. And Monkey King was struggling with his spell, and he took his brother's arms and dragged him to the feet, and confused said, what is it? And he picked up his brother's staff and said, we should go for a ride. Before we left, we had time to follow, and we stayed floating in the room stupefied for a few seconds, and eventually we said, should we try to follow them? Nah, it would be pointless to try to fly, to try to keep up with him whenever he's flying at full speed. Alright, so then he went to fly off with his brother for a bit. You know, like Dragon Rider and Little Dragon and Little Dragon.